All right, then we have another one here called How the Man-Child is Made, the 30-year-old boy by Mr. Forged.
The formation of psychologically or mentally infantile men stems not from our own inability to pursue and strive for independence. All of us always have the capacity for that. Instead, it is caused by our less fortunate and less optimal upbringings that significantly disparage and constrain that potentiality. We all know that our parents play an important role in the formation of our psyche during our adolescent years all the way into adulthood, and how they assist us to properly function or live as a fully grown individual through examples and demonstrations. The father serves as a figure or beacon of guidance for us, mentors, and paternal authority that instills the necessary disciplines on how to achieve eventual independence and fulfillment of potential in life. The mother serves as the caring and nurturing soul that over time provides us with the perfect example in looking for and developing healthy, long-lasting future relationships with other women. However, when the human dynamic relationship between our parents is crippled, insufficient, and decadent from the start, they will result in us having poor or unsynergetic relationships with them and infect our mindset dramatically throughout our transition towards adulthood, hindering them down, obstructing their progress, and even counteracting them completely. Because as children, we are still vulnerable, curious, and excited beings, so when we are conditioned and programmed in a certain way in terms of our thought and behavioral patterns by our parents, we will inevitably adopt or instill that conditioning quite persistently even as time passes. Physically and emotionally absent fathers, overprotective and demanding mothers, and living in an extremely conservative environment for long periods of time are the main factors of why a lot of men today are still lost boys living in grown men's bodies. Fathers who are rarely or never been physically and psychologically involved in the development of his sons during their adolescent years will absolutely disorganize and clutter their perspectives towards many necessary things in life that are important for them to know and understand, such as the need to cultivate physical strength.
There's no question that men being lost about what it means to be a man, men struggling with masculinity, struggling with self-esteem, struggling with a way forward in life, a purpose, is directly tied to not having men in their life, to not growing up with a masculine mentor. 1 in 3 kids born in America does not have a father present. Of the children that have a father present, how many of them are actually masculine and not some beta whipped simp that believes happy wife, happy life horseshit he's been fed? There are very, very few masculine traditional men left in the West today, and that is wreaking havoc on the social fabric of society at large, but also men in general. We're more lost than we've ever been here in the West. We no longer have rites of passage. We no longer understand the basic tenets of manhood. And you see it manifesting all over society. Addiction to video games, addiction to pornography, addiction to quick dopamine hits, no ability to handle pressure, no ability to overcome obstacles on your journey. They quit early. They don't persevere. They end up being 30 years old with nothing to show for it, complaining about their position in life, not taking responsibility and accountability, and wondering why women don't want them. And then they have this unifying factor of blaming everything and anything else but themselves. At a certain point, you understand that you've been dealt a bad deck of cards and it's your job as a man to overcome them. So if you were raised without a father, I understand you're starting from way in the back of the line and you got a lot of fucking work to do. Totally get it, bro. But once you hit a certain age, you are fully expected to start working on your self-improvement, growth, and development. Because as a man, there's one rule that we all share in life, is that not one person, no one is coming to save you.
The necessity to have perseverance in the state of adversities, the value in courage in taking risks away from their comfort zones, and the importance to find a purposeful direction or path in life. These are some of the many critical things that fathers need to induce into their son's mind from an early age in order to prepare and encourage them to form an attitude that is way more appropriate and adapted towards the ruthless and predicament circumstances of life when they eventually reach their adult years. Fathers that are rarely home from work to be physically available, fathers that never put an effort to understand and connect with their sons by doing common endeavors to develop their relationship, and fathers that compromise or relinquish their leadership position in the family by making the mother wear the pants in the marriage. All of these circumstances will dramatically affect a man's ability and confidence to verge towards self-sufficiency because he is simply unprepared, unencouraged, and unconditioned to become one. Mothers who are overprotective and demanding towards their sons will also profoundly hinder their development towards emotional maturity. Overprotective and demanding mothers are usually developed through physical and emotional unavailability from their husbands towards them, that they eventually start to unconsciously shift their reliance heavily on their sons to provide those sensations of presence for them, to the point where they will showcase and demonstrate an overly exaggerated and unreasonable amount of care and nurture, but also devouring commandments in order to keep their sons close, perhaps too close, discouraging their sons from taking.
Mama's boys. You see this often in mothers that are overbearing with their boys. Don't let them make mistakes, but especially with women. You may know a friend, or you may have experienced this yourself, but your mother is never approving of a woman that comes into your life. She's always saying that she's not good enough, that girl's a whore, that you better look out for her. And you know this is a good person. You've vetted them and you've wanted to introduce them to your parents or your only mother, because maybe you're from a single parent household. And then she immediately disapproves. Another one of these, it was famous in the movie Waterboy. So Waterboy is a hilarious comedy. I recommend everybody watch it. Bobby Boucher. But he had the quote overbearing mother that would never approve and was alone and would try to control him to keep her boy present in her life. Now, a lot of women do this without even realizing it. And that's unfortunate because a man is never allowed to grow into one. Or I should say a boy is not allowed to grow into a man.
Taking big risks and wanting to be overly involved in their sons' lives will inevitably encourage them to develop a mother complex, or in other words, an overly attached and dependent relationship with their mothers.
Mama's boy.
Even when it comes to making important life decisions that they have to contemplate independently, making them unwilling or reluctant to venture towards complete independence. Fathers who do not have a masculine and strong frame of mind or presence of authority, fathers who, like mentioned before, voluntarily relinquish their position as leaders in the household in order to desperately please their wives, will also result in these women doubting their husband's capability to protect, provide, and lead the family, eventually incentivizing themselves to take matters into their own hands and assume the mantle of leadership, because they could not bring themselves to trust their husband's capability to take care of things. This will effectively put an indefinite stop to any intentions of encouragement and support from the fathers to their sons towards breaking free from the dependency of their family, as now the mothers are in charge, so both their husbands and their sons are operating from the frame of mind of their wives and mothers. And as we all know, a woman's mind does not naturally adhere to a man's mind because we are different. Like Brad Pitt said in Fight Club, we're generations of men raised by women. Cultures, lifestyles, social lives, and activities that do not adhere towards self-sufficiency can also significantly influence a man's decision to live in independence, like the absence or lack of any rites of passage, whether they are individually initiated or collectively initiated by the people around him, friends and colleagues who discourage and condemns him.
Yeah, this is one of the main issues I've identified in society today. A boy doesn't know when he even becomes a man. We just slip into manhood without having to prove ourselves or becoming a part of something greater than yourself that also has expectations placed on you. Quote, standards of being a man, standards of being one of us, expectations, what you're expected to provide in value to the group. None of that exists. Men are lost. This is how men found value in themselves. You got to compete against your fellow tribesmen. You got to show your worth. You got to advance through the ranks, through merit. That's all gone. What has it been replaced with? Video games and pornography. Sad, man.
In taking risks or trying out new endeavors together, and activities that have no direct contribution and impact for him to undergo a gradual process of self-improvement. For example, things such as refusing to move out and live alone in a different city or country, spending too much time indoors while playing too much video games and watching too much porn,
there it is.
Living a sedentary or a personally non-cultivating lifestyle, and being reluctant to participate or engage in any social activities. These accommodating factors can keep himself remain in the comfortable confinement of his previously induced infantile conditionings that will keep him at bay or even stray him away further from the process of individuation. That is why the more you get too invested and immersed in this modern world that is full of physically and mentally comforting but degenerative instant gratifications provided at the tip of your fingers through your mobile phones, the more you will shield yourself away from taking the necessary steps to eventually become an independent man. That is why you become a soft, feeble, cowardly, and feminine man that women do not want to be with, because they could not trust you to lead, protect, and provide for her, since you do not possess the attitude and capabilities of a properly mature man. Now, it is very important that you do not put every every ounce of your hateful resentments and blame towards your parents, because they have their own set of problems too regardless, and it's just unfortunate that we got caught or involved in the middle of them. And as much as they've contributed quite significantly to our own set of misfortunes during our adult lives, most of them have no genuine and fully conscious intentions of doing so. Because as we know, oftentimes our parents only want the best for us, regardless of the methods they've implemented to raise us, that are formed over the years through their own good or bad experiences as children in the care of our grandparents back in the day. Misfortunes are inevitable sooner or later, and I understand that a lot of our anger comes from the fact that we have wasted so much of our youth being convinced that living in our comfort zones is the best way to live, and have missed out quite a lot in actually living life through taking risks. So mostly we have to face unfamiliar circumstances the hard way. And the worst part is, in technical and historical terms at least, we are not entirely responsible for it. However, we have no choice but to do so in order to eventually break free to make our future circumstances better than how they were. Because taking full responsibility over our own lives, regardless of circumstances, is the only way to eventually move forward in life and leave the past behind. Because again, no one is coming to save you, and as much as you want to despicably blame your parents and expecting a sort of obligatory redeeming arc for them to enlighten your current and future circumstances, they are getting too old and wary for that, no matter how much they desperately want to. So forgive them, because as much as they have put you through so much in life, without them, there will be no you. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, you can only put so much blame on your parents. They're doing their best. Unfortunately, people's best vary in degree of how effective it is, and it's okay. Some of us get better parents than others. You learn to live with the cards that you were dealt in life. It's up to you. It all falls on your shoulders to play your hand the best you possibly can. That's why I said earlier, past a certain point, a certain age, there's no excuses. If you don't do the work for self-improvement, if you don't start healing your childhood trauma, and you wake up one day 35, 45, 55, and like, my life has been a mess. I've never accomplished anything. I have nothing to be proud of. That's all you. You can't blame the system, can't blame the government, can't blame some institution, can't blame parents, can't blame siblings, can't blame whatever job, whatever, dude. It's all on you.